Welcome. I will introduce myself and then hand it over to Liz and we'll get started. I know these sessions can go quick. We're trying to cover a lot of information and it may feel like we're kind of glazing over or going through things fast. We definitely want to share a lot of information and encourage you to use tomorrow, the 12 to 2 time slot, to come back by our booth and learn a little bit more. If there's something that we touch on that we don't get to spend a lot of time on, definitely come by and talk to us tomorrow. So welcome. I'm Whitney Blyton. I'm with the Best Friends Network. I'm the Senior Manager of Operations. And this is Liz.
Hi, I'm Liz Finch, Senior Writer for Best Friends Network. Does anybody remember when Best Friends Network was Animal Help? Oh gosh, I'm old. Okay, never mind. Forget that.
All right.
So our network partners, a lot of you are network partners or you're kind of familiar with it, but we want to talk about a little bit the composition, which Whit just asked, sort of the different types of groups that we have, because we know there's a lot of different variables that play a really important role in saving animal lives. And this is the breakdown. The 4,362 is the latest, quote unquote, because I know there's some people signed up at the booth earlier, so it's actually probably a little bit higher. And that's the breakdown. Obviously, rescue without a government contract is the largest by far. So that is a very interesting stat, and we want to make sure that we are covering resources for you guys, as well as the shelters with a government contract, animal control only, spay-neuter group, transport. So we really have a wide variety of organizations that we cultivate, and we want all of you here because, like I said, you play a really important role. Each of you are filling a crucial niche. So has anybody been to the Best Friends Network website? How easy is it to find things? Nodding. Oh, okay. Well, that's different. We are doing a redesign because we do find trouble finding things. We have a lot of resources on there, and we've geared them to different types of learning styles and all kinds of different content. So number one, I want to point out, because I write a lot of these, so that's the most important thing. Right? Read. We have program spotlights or editorials every week. It's mostly program spotlights, and that's really, it's not about best friends tooting their own horn. It's about you guys and what you're doing. So it's the organizations and the types of programs that they've done. So it's really people in the trenches talking peer to peer. So they can talk to you about how you can build those programs. And they're all really geared toward making your life a little bit easier. And we try and talk about a lot of the most cutting edge projects and issues. Editorials are definitely our perspective on things. We've had them on very sensitive topic about releasing animals not spayed and neutered, and why that is a good choice if you are euthanizing animals because you're hanging on to those who have an appointment 6 weeks out, so you don't have a cage. So we talk through that, which got a lot of traction on our website, positive and negative. Playbooks and manuals. We have about 60 of those, everything from the Community Cat Programs Handbook. Does anybody have that here? Awesome. We had a bunch of them. We ran out at the booth, but they are available online, so you can go there. And then Humane Animal Control Manual. We have playbooks on pretty much every topic you can imagine. We have a bunch on digital fundraising, which I know is a major, major issue for organizations, because I have been in your shoes as a nonprofit trying to raise money, and that's really tough. And then program endorsements is really just kind of the bullet points from Best Friends about the types of programs we really get behind for life-saving, like community cat programs. And I used to oversee community cat programs, and I started out as a TNR person, so that's very close to my heart. And that how many of you guys do community cat programs or TNVR? Great. And if you don't, and you're euthanizing cats, if you implement that program, all of a sudden you'll find you have empty cat cages and people not euthanizing all day long. It's that quick. Watch, for those of you who are visual learners. We have webinars, trainings online, and town halls, which we are doing not quite as frequently as some of those others, but that's an opportunity to have, like here we had several people on as a panel talking recently about the 2020 to 2022 data trends to really go through what did we see right at the beginning of the pandemic? What did we see after the pandemic? And what does that mean to the industry? What are the challenges there? And then the Saving America's Pets vlog, and that is Holly Sizemore. Those are usually about 15 minutes long, about various topics. She is usually interviewing somebody for that. So those are really helpful to go and take a look and see what topics are of interest to you.
And I'll say real quick, I was just remembering, we have a new series starting August 17th, which I think is next week, which is wild. A 3-part series that you can go and register for right now, focused on data. And so we'll be doing one each month, and they'll be recorded, but you can register and then you'll receive those recordings to your inbox if you're not able to participate live. But definitely check that out. There's a registration link on our website right now to participate and be a part of that. So.
We also have, and I forgot to put it as a bullet point up there, but our YouTube channel. And we had a bunch of videos put up there, maybe about a dozen or so, from Tierney Sane, who's kind of a regional person that she goes out to shelters and consults with them. And she did these little 1-minute to 2-minute videos about handling dogs and dog behavior in shelters. So there's shy dog stuff, there's how you engage them at the kennel door so that they're not quite as aggressive if they're having issues there. Those are really cool. And then there's a ton that Samantha, who's our cat lady, put out on handling cats and different things with training cats, and those are really much more consumer focused. So those are materials that you can direct your adopters to, and so we do have some B2C, business to consumer stuff, but we're mostly business to business content, which is we're talking to you industry folks. Listen, for those of you who have long drives or you're cleaning kennels, John Dunn, who unfortunately is not here this year, first year in a long time, he does fantastic podcasts every week. I think there's over 450 of them online about all kinds of topics. Sometimes we cover the same topics in the written stuff and in the same week. We try and interview different people so you have different perspectives on it. But those are really fun. He's a great interviewer. And I know I keep running out of podcasts because I listen to them all. And I'm like, darn it, there's no new ones. So I have to get new ones. So that's really something worth checking out or telling your staff and volunteers to check out.
Okay. So, yeah. So as Liz was sharing some of the content we have in different forms, read, watch, listen. So other ways that you can actively engage with our website are some things that we have under what we call the do category. So how to use these tools and resources to increase your life saving. So there's a lot of things that fall into this category. So like I said, some of these things we'll just be kind of mentioning. And definitely after the session, if you want help finding some of these resources on the website that maybe you're like, oh, I had no idea that they had that, we definitely can walk you through and show that. So hopefully this week you've heard about Shelter Pet Data Alliance. I know we've been talking about it, and if you haven't had a chance to actually see what that is, and maybe you missed the session specifically on that, definitely come by the booth tomorrow, 12 to 2, and we'll be able to show you and demo that a little bit more and dig into how to use that. But it's our new data platform if you haven't heard about it. And it's amazing to be able to actually visualize and analyze your data easily. So definitely come check out and learn more about that. Events and campaigns. So as a network partner, we offer a lot of opportunities for organizations to participate in different things. So right now, one of the big things that we're talking about is our adoption event. And I'll actually touch on that in just a couple slides forward. But that's an opportunity that we have right now that's exclusive to our network partners. So I will dig into that and share more details about that. For maps, we have 2 different maps on our website that I wanted to highlight today. So we have a spay-neuter resource map that is meant actually for organizations and even the public to use to help easily identify low-cost spay-neuter clinics and mobile clinics in your area. So it's a map that you can go and use to see what's nearby. Another map that we have is our transport connection map. So how many of you work with organizations, whether you're doing the transport or you're working with a receiving agency? Okay. So we have a map that we've created where the goal of the map is to make those connections, like it's called. So you can go on and whether you're looking to have an organization receive animals or you're actually a receiving agency yourself, it's a way to kind of make those connections and relationships, so you can kind of use it to look at, is it cats or dogs, or what's their capacity, or what's the volume of animals you're looking to send. So that's definitely something to check out. Online resources, we have about a little over 20 e-learning modules where it's a self-paced course on various topics that you can go on, and you can kind of go through the course and dig into something, whether it's fundraising, building a volunteer program, something more operational. So that's definitely something to bookmark and check out. And then under toolkits, we have a new toolkit that we launched earlier this year, the Emergency Preparedness Toolkit. Has anybody seen that or used it? It's fairly new. We actually have a Sharon Hawa is here at the conference. I don't know if anybody's actually gotten to meet or talk to her, but this is an amazing resource. And I experienced this firsthand, as probably many of you did if you're local, when Hurricane Harvey hit in 2017. So we've developed a toolkit to help organizations prepare and get ahead of it in case there is a disaster, whether it's a hurricane or any other disaster, and just different resources and ways that you can kind of break down the steps to prepare for something like that, no matter what type of organization you are. So there's a lot to unpack there and dig into, but just wanted to highlight on a few of those.
Yeah, let me just jump in real quick and mention on the campaigns one, because I see we have some of our legislative and advocacy people here, grassroots people here. So that website, the network website, is really a portal to that information too. So you can see the major platforms that we're working on at the national and state level, which are things like breed legislation, that is keeping animals from going into homes, out of your shelters. We're working on puppy mill stuff as well. We work on TNR legislation that makes it difficult for you to feed cats, that kind of thing. And then we also have these action alerts, and they apply to all different communities. So you can sign up for those so that when they're in your community, you're getting emails saying how you can go ahead and write out this template and send it to your city council or whoever's making those decisions and make your voices known. And the grassroots work too is just showing kind of an example of how to make change in your community, which it can be kind of scary. I know the legislative thing, people are like, I don't know anything about lobbying. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but it walks you through it. And if you can get some of those really obnoxious ordinances that are hiding down there, in line A, F, whatever, 3. If you can get those changed, then suddenly you'll be able to do new programs without feeling that you're going to get in trouble for that. So yeah.
All right, so staying connected. So our team, we work with our team to put together communication. So we know, as I mentioned today, we're going through a lot of different offerings on the website and ways that we're trying to put these tools together and these webinars together. So how do you stay connected with us? So we have 2 newsletters every month. And for those that haven't yet been receiving those newsletters, it's very easy to sign up, which we can also help you with after the session. We put together what we consider the regional newsletters. So we've taken the country and broken it down into 8 regions. What states, what information are we sharing with some of these states? So highlighting the South Central region being the 4 states shown there. Trying to share out content and information and things happening with organizations in those locations, tailoring those resources specifically to something happening within that region. We also send out newsletters based on your organization type. So meaning there might be something that's more relevant for a shelter versus more relevant for a rescue group or a spay-neuter organization or a support organization. So we know we have a lot to share, a lot of awesome things happening with our network partners, and so we're really trying to break that down into something that's relatable and curate it for you as the recipient. So those are the 2 newsletters we do on the 1st and the 3rd Wednesday every month. We also have some different ways to engage with you and on social media. So within Facebook, we have 2 different pages, groups that we have available. So the one shown here is the Lifesaving Resources Hub. That's open for everyone, meant to be a way, again, to share out that information, a new campaign or a new program, a new opportunity, different resources that we're launching. As a network partner, we also have an exclusive page, and really the reason we developed that was a way to create a space for our partners to connect with each other, maybe you have a question. Did anyone, try this out in their organization, or have you started this program, and what successes or challenges have you found? So it's meant to be a way to just connect with each other. And so really, we encourage you all to use that as a network partner to, be able to get feedback and share things with each other. And then, again, a LinkedIn page that you can find other information on as well. So as I mentioned, I definitely wanted to talk a little bit more about the adoption event. So we are all very busy, and there's a lot going on. And I know we often in our work jump from one thing to the next, or we're putting out fires. And so we wanted to take a moment to just celebrate. So, pausing to just think about the noses behind the numbers. And so how many groups have participated in any of our national adoption events in the last couple of years? Great.
It should be all of you.
So we've been doing these for a while. I think we had 4 events last year, and we're about to do the second one this year. So the last event was the end of the end of June going into July. And we had almost 600 network partners participate. And really our goal, Best Friends' goal for offering these events is we want to, promote adoption nationwide. We are doing paid marketing to drive the public to you as a participating organization. So we've been doing paid marketing to say, hey, check out this local organization, go adopt from them. So that's what we're trying to do to help drive that traffic to increase your adoptions. And then also kind of a win-win is, as a participating organization, we ask you to share your numbers. So did you have more adoptions this year over last year? How many pets did you adopt in that 3-day period? And then providing a stipend to hopefully encourage groups or allow them to be able to do reduced fee or fee waived adoption events. And so the stipend to try to offset some of that. So in this last event, like I said, we had almost 600 network partners participate. Over 9,200 cats and dogs adopted from those groups, which is awesome. And gave out over $230,000 in stipends. And so these are just some of the pictures shared with us. And so we love to hear those happy tales, adoptions, stories, to be able to, share that on our social channels as well. So these are some of the pets that were adopted. And, oftentimes we hear, oh, this dog was in our shelter for over 45 days, or, just these hard to place pets that, because of the additional marketing and just, being able to talk about the event, brought someone in to find that perfect match. So the next event, like I said, is happening in September. We definitely have been signing groups up on site. So if you are interested, we have a short form to be able to do that at our booth. We can provide that information. I believe it's also on the QR code on the card that we were handing out to be able to find that easily on the website. It's the very first image, so you shouldn't be able to miss it. But definitely sign up because it's a win-win. So, all right.
And did anybody attend the first session about storytelling? I know the room got blocked out, so yeah. So those are great opportunities to share stories with us and photos. I mean, one of my favorites was this guy went in with his daughter. They were going to adopt a kitten. They're walking through the kennels, and he's like, that's my dog. And the dog had been missing for months, and so he was able to reclaim his dog, and then they took home a kitten or two. And they had a great photo. Great photos. Please don't send stuff without photos, or I can't print it. So we did a story on the network site, but I also write for the main bestfriends.org website, which goes to our public. And so we shared some stories on there. I think it actually made it in the magazine too. So if you're one of those stories that gets featured, you get a little bit of publicity. Somebody told me recently they ripped it out of the magazine. It was up on the wall in their shelter, the big circle around it. So it's some nice free PR for you if you share something cool. So we want to go through a couple things that to show that we're trying to give resources to all of you. I mean, the network is really, in my mind, we started it kind of as a professional organization to give tools to you guys because there isn't really a professional organization in animal welfare, or there hasn't been for years. And so we know that you need it. It's very hard to focus on the business end of things when you're running crisis to crisis. And we know there's lots of, as we saw on the first slide, different types of organizations that our partners. So first of all, if you're a shelter, there was this recent story that we did on GIS mapping. Anybody familiar with GIS mapping? 1, 2 people. It's geographic information systems. It sounds really scary. If you go to Google Maps and you import an Excel spreadsheet that has 10 addresses on it, boop, it'll populate them on the map, and then you can drive from address to address if you really want to. But a lot of shelters are starting to use that to bolster their lost and found work. So the public is able to go on and not just kind of tell them, put in your shelter folder, that sits on that counter and never gets updated for years. They actually put a dot to show where they lost a dog or where they found a dog or a cat, and then the public can go and look in the proximity of where they live to see, was my cat one of the black cats that was found in this particular area? They're also using it for community cat programs to decide how their TNVR resources should be spread out, so they can see how many spay neuters have been done in a particular area, if there's that trailer park where they're all coming from. But it's a really nice mapping tool, and it's easier than you think. It's not as daunting as the GIS makes it sound. Rural shelter, how many rural shelters are in here? Gosh, yeah, you guys are the ones in the 75-year-old building with 13 kennels, right? And one half-time employee. So we've done a couple things on rural shelters. We need to do more. We recognize and agree with you that it's really challenging to be in a rural shelter when you're very far from resources, when the nearest spay neuter is 2 hours away, all of that. So we try and reach out to other rural shelters and find what they've done to finding pathways to success. How have they managed that spay neuter challenge? How have they set up transport so that they can get them out of this area where there's not enough homes to adopt these animals that you have, and to really populated areas? Because like I said, we know it's really a challenge to be a rural shelter. Recently did a story on, I'm in Phoenix, and there's a shelter that is south of Tucson, about an hour southeast, so that would be almost Mexico. And they are actually taking a lot of their animals over the border for spay neuter in Mexico, because it's faster to get the appointments there than it is any place nearby. And they have worked with Humane Society of Southern Arizona and us recently, and we bought them literally a shed that is their cat room, because their cats were right next to all the barking dogs. So now the cats have free range in this nice little shed that's air conditioned. And it took pulling together those peer-to-peer resources. So we want to talk about that to maybe kind of spark ideas for people who are having the same challenges, or if they're having other challenges and they want to reach out to us and say, hey, you didn't cover this and I don't know what to do about it. Rescues, and I'll say I started out as a rescue with cat rescue group in Los Angeles. Woohoo! So this is one of the online courses that Whitney mentioned, client service and barrier-free adoptions. So barrier-free adoptions is that please reduce your 19-page adoption application to 3 questions that your adoption counselors ask people as they open up a conversation. So that is just a short online course. I can't remember how long they take to do.
I think it varies, yeah.
It varies. We try not to make them too long because we know that you do not have time to sit in front of your computer and do that. But we do other things for rescues. The podcast can be rescue-oriented. The program spotlights can be rescue-oriented. We try not to default to shelter all the time. And rescues are really a backbone because you help shelters. So they have the limited time that you don't have. And you're really, without your critical resource, those lives would not be saved. If you're spay neuter or TNR group, which actually should say TNVR, community cat programs, public policy, and legal considerations. That's a piece that actually has a lot of bullet points, and it goes over things like that, ownership, that ornery ownership question that gets into your ordinances, where they try to say if you feed a cat more than 30 consecutive days, you're its owner. And it really touches on how to work around those things, how to get those changed and pulled out of your ordinances. And it's touching on all the major things that shelters always say, I can't do a community cat program because there's a feeding ban. This exists in my ordinances. And we have lots of things like that for spay, neuter, and TNR groups. We also have the Community Cat Programs Handbook, as I mentioned, which is a pretty thick book. And it's A to Z, what you should do to get one started, how you deal with those thorny questions, angry people, how you get the animal control officers on board, how you talk through the issue of returning friendly cats. I know that's who has a problem returning friendly cats. Oh, it was just one person. Yeah. But that can be a challenge, and that is the gray zone. There's always reasons why sometimes it doesn't fit to be returned, and sometimes there's 10 people waiting for it to be returned. So there are all kinds of pieces in that are really helpful for the groups like this. And then if you're a transport group, the big one, reducing infectious disease. I know a lot of people won't even do transport because they're really concerned about all those animals in a shared space. And the playbook covers what to do before the transport, during the transport, and after the transport, and then how to manage if there's a disease outbreak. We had a group recently, really excited, a group down in the south, very small, had trouble placing animals, moved a bunch of puppies north, really happy about it. A couple of the puppies broke with parvo, and I think 1 or 2 died. So how do you manage that? How do you deal with supporting that group on the other end that then got some vet bills? That kind of stuff is covered in these playbooks. And these are written, the content really comes from our regional specialists, and anybody know Scott Giacopo? Shelter Support Services. So he's been in animal control for a very long time. So it's coming from people who are out in the field and who have experienced it and know the ins and outs. It's not a bunch of people sitting on the hill in Kanab, Utah, who've never spent any time in shelters. Most people who work at Best Friends have spent time in shelters just like you did. So.
All right, so I'm going to touch on a survey that we've been doing for the last 3 years. So feedback is so important. I think that was one of the themes as we were preparing this. We would love to hear from all of you today. We would love to hear from all of our network partners. And so what we've been doing the last 3 years is sending out what we're referring to as our annual survey to try to reach the groups that we're working with and find out, as we were going through some of the content just now, what else can we provide, or what else do you need help with, or what are you hearing in your communities, or what are you struggling with programmatically? And so in May of this year, we sent out our 3rd annual survey, and we had, I think, a little over 800 participating groups send back their survey. Did anyone in this room complete that? Do you know if you completed it? Awesome, thank you. Yeah, it wasn't short, so thank you for taking the time to do that. I will say another thing that we tried to put on the QR code that's on the business card that you received just now is a very short 3-question survey. So for those that didn't participate or would like to share more feedback, we tried to use that as another way for you to do that quickly. So definitely check that out. So really our goal with this survey was to be able to ask, what's going on with your organization? How are your employees doing? How are your volunteers doing? What programs do you have going? What are your challenges? And so you can see in this pie chart kind of the breakdown in terms of the organization types that completed the survey, the 819 groups that did that. So that's kind of a breakout in terms of the organization types. Some of the common themes and the things that we heard in this survey are listed here on the right side. So, I think we're all kind of feeling this on different levels, but compassion fatigue and burnout and, maybe short staffed, not enough people, open positions that haven't been filled, needing or wanting more peer-to-peer connection. So another goal we had for the conference is obviously, trying to get groups to work with each other, or just know what each group is doing to not kind of duplicate efforts, or, how can we connect our network partners with each other, or maybe pair up a shelter and a rescue group if that, is a relationship that we have individually with those 2 organizations. How can we kind of bridge that and have those groups connect and kind of facilitate that relationship or help that get off the ground? As Liz touched on, we're hearing a lot about, well, I'm a rural organization, or I do this because I'm more urban, or, here's the size or the volume that I work with annually. So really trying to, we were hearing that it would be helpful to kind of have more resources tailored towards rural organizations, and the support or the needs and how they implement a program might be slightly different, which we get. Resources for the public. So, maybe do you hear a lot from the, the constituents or the public coming to you that you don't have a resource to hand them? How can we help develop that? Or what organizations have that developed that we can share with you to use? Time is limited. So, ways to get things faster, easier, bulleted form. How can we be sharing out more in like a short format versus, the playbooks and manuals are amazing. They're very thick and textbook-like. So how can we share those that content similarly, but in a short form? And then recorded webinars and training. So we definitely try to host things, like I mentioned, the data webinar that's coming up. We'd love for you to participate live. We know not everybody can participate live. So we always try to have those recorded and shared out for you to be able to listen and watch in your own time. So that was kind of the theme. Definitely, use the link and share more information if you have a moment to take the quick 3-question survey. But we'd love to keep hearing from our partners. And so that's kind of where we wanted to go next with this presentation, is just thinking about that feedback and keeping that feedback loop going as we kind of go into this, what we're calling the next phase, and how to keep the network moving forward. And as we increase the number of network partners, what can we do to make it better for you as an organization? So a few of the next slides that we wanted to go through is really just to talk about, like, how can we best friends help you? And so thinking about the results we got from that survey, we kind of bubbled it up to these areas. And so one of the things, we're hearing from a lot of groups is, I'm collecting my data, I'm sharing my data, but what do I do next? Or I don't have the time to really be digging into it. Or, some groups are doing things on paper, some groups are using a shelter management software tool. So as I mentioned, Shelter Pet Data Alliance is a big thing, that Best Friends has been talking about this week, and definitely encourage you to learn more about that. But the importance of data and how to analyze your data easily, and then how to use that and take that data into action. So actionable resources. Like I said, networking and co-solving and that peer-to-peer support. So really trying to make it easy on you as an organization to find and make those connections with other organizations to be working with. So, using the conference as a way to network, obviously, but ways that we can help through our different tools and resources on the website for you to be able to see who else in your area is a network partner, or using the social media, the Facebook page to connect with those groups. Online user experience. So as Liz touched on, we are going through a website redesign. So we really understand, again, that your time is limited, the ways that we're delivering content. Maybe some people absorb that through reading and highlighting a playbook or a manual. Some people just have a few minutes, so they want to quickly, see that summary on a Facebook post. Maybe listening to the podcast and having that opportunity while you're doing something else at your shelter or with your group. So thinking about different ways we can get creative in how we're delivering that content and making it easy to digest. And the new tools and offerings. So any topics that you're like, man, I really wish that, I had a one-pager that covered high level how to get started with something. We'd love to hear that feedback. And likely you're not alone in thinking that, or maybe that already exists and you just don't know that it's out there. And being able to highlight and share through our program spotlights ways that groups are implementing something that you might find and tweak slightly for your organization, but to be able to share that so that you can learn from others and not have to recreate the wheel. So I quickly wanted to mention with Shelter Pet Data Alliance, SPDA, we have a new feature that we've been talking about this week. And so you may have heard about One Alliance. It's definitely something that we have created for organizations to be able to use as a comparison tool when looking at data. So again, at our booth, we'd love to show you more and give you a demo and talk more about it as it relates to you as an individual organization. But really the goal with this is to be able, with real-time data, to be able to compare an organization like yours. Maybe it's some group that's similar in terms of location, geographic region, maybe same in terms of programming or your annual intake. So being able to see side-by-side comparisons to really help understand and think about, ways that you could increase your own life saving based on something that might be similar and seen another group that has done that. So definitely could spend a long time talking through this, but just wanted to highlight it so that you could stop by and learn more about it. And then this is just kind of a way to summarize a lot of what we've been trying to share today and to highlight really trying to think about joining the network and putting the network at the center of all of these different things in ways that we want to expand some of our offerings to really help you as an organization. So being able to provide an easy way to analyze your data, to increase that life saving and be able to make analyzing it, taking that into actionable next steps. And then providing proven practices, ways that groups have implemented a program or, a quick SOP or a toolkit to be able to take that next step. The peer-to-peer co-solving, so really can't stress that enough in terms of building those relationships and having groups to lean on and brainstorm with. And then being able, not only through the best friends connections and as Liz mentioned, different teams within our organization to be able to offer that hands-on support, but also being able to talk about, another organization that maybe has a really great neonatal kitten program or another organization that has had a lot of success with transport. So just being able to make those connections and have those experts to talk through things with. So all of that being super important as we get to 2025. So just that's really kind of the takeaway here. So I'll let Liz kind of.
Yeah, we just wanted to sum it up by saying thank you so much for your involvement with us. The fact that you guys are all here at this conference is amazing. It shows you really want to learn and that you trust best friends to bring you the resources in all kinds of ways so that you can do more and better and excel at what you already are doing well. We encourage you to stop by our booth tomorrow. Grab a card. Did you hand out the business cards?
Yeah.
We ran out of business cards. Okay, so come by our booth and we can talk to you about all these things, becoming a network partner, how to register for the September adoption event, which has stipends again, which especially if you want to try out waiving fees or reducing fees, it's a good opportunity to do that because you don't lose the entire revenue. That is usually the biggest concern. Registering for our data webinar series, SPDA, signing up for the regular emails, and staying connected. And I just really want to encourage people to, we want to hear from you. A lot of it is creating resources that then go out into the void. And I never know if people are reading it, never know if they're listening to the podcast. So we do want to hear from you, both critiques and support and ideas that we aren't touching on because we can only know so much and we're trying to evolve with you. But since I'm not standing in the shelter, I don't know what the latest challenge is that we may want to tap into our experts or tap into the experts in the communities and write something on or create some other types of resources on. So with that being said, we have like 5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Are there any questions? And if there are, actually, I think you need to come up to the microphone. Is that correct? Yeah.
I could just yell. I was going to ask, are there any resources on the website about compassion fatigue? You mentioned it, but you didn't say if there's anything specifically on there.
That's a great question.
We have to repeat the question.
Oh, sorry.
So are there any resources on the website about compassion fatigue? And yes, there are. It caught me on the spot. I don't remember which ones there are. And I think we need to do more. Obviously, that was one of the ones that came up in the survey. I know that those sessions are packed here, and we've all had that burnout and compassion fatigue, so we know, and it's really ramping up right now because I know it's really hard for everybody out in the field, and things are not getting easier as fast as we want. So taking care of yourself is crucial, and I'm guilty of not doing that. I think who's not guilty of not taking care of themselves? So it's finding those things and really coping with some really difficult things and learning to kind of find the bright spot in what's good. So we can always build more resources towards that, especially knowing what would be most helpful for you, like what types of formats and so forth.
We did a webinar 2 weeks ago, I believe at this point, and it was available as a recording for a limited time. But we definitely have that on the list to kind of keep in the regular rotation in terms of offering. But we did just host that, and we have some additional resources that we can add to be able to share long term. But thank you for calling that out because, yes, we have acknowledged that that's a big one that we'd like to keep in the rotation and continue to build on.
Just real quick to that last question and to what you just said, the one that was on recently was Compassion Resilience with Jessica Dolce, and that was fantastic. I definitely recommend checking it out. Podcast, I think like I know John's been out for a little bit, but the last one is like May 4th. Is that coming back?
He's
Yes.
back next week.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, I know we have some podcast fans. Thank you. That's great. We'll definitely pass that on to John. But yes, the podcast, I mean, I find that great to listen to, like we were saying, like if you're doing another task, but you have that on to be able to, listen at the same time. So yes.
It kind of keeps the spirit of this alive all year long.
Yeah.
So I know I get a lot of energy from it.
I love that. Thank you.
People are like, "Where's John? Why is John not here?"
Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
chopped liver right here. Yeah, we felt really bad about going dark on the podcast, but he's our guy, and so we're really excited. He's back next Monday, I think. So I'm sure he's raring to go and get back on it.
Okay, is there a how-to for network partners or like a regional person that can I don't know, get on Zoom and talk us through these are the resources, here's what you can use, here's how you navigate? Because I've been on your website, I tend to get in a rabbit hole every time. And it's great and everything that I find is amazing. But I feel like if I go on there for I don't know what I can look for and what's available.
Right. No, that's great. That's good feedback to hear and think about as we go forward. So there's a lot of organizations that we talk to that are like, I joined the network 10 years ago, and then it's changed, our leadership team has changed 3 times over, and we don't really remember what the things are that you can provide us. And so as new organizations come on board, there is kind of this Network 101 tutorial, but for those organizations that have been a partner for a while, but maybe, don't know all of the things, that's a great idea of something, whether it's a tip sheet or recording. We'd be happy to, connect with you afterwards. Anybody that has questions about that, to how to navigate. We were just trying to glaze over some of the things today, but yes, there is, I will say the easiest thing to remember is just like you would go to Google and search something. There is a little search box that you can always start with that as an option to type in some keywords to try to find something in the top corner. But yes, that's good to know of maybe a quick little recording or demo of how to navigate certain things or call out some of the big things. But definitely, if you have anything, we can show you that at the booth too.
And that's kind of in my idea queue to do something on, but we've been waiting until we do a redesign of the website so we can kind of walk you through where things are. We do it now, it's going to be out of date in 3 months or 4 months. So.
Wait, tell them about the coffee chat.
Coffee chat? What is that? Coffee chat? That's not a plant in the audience.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice from the booth. So we're getting ready to gear up and do a series of coffee chats where we're going to be having our network team members setting up times to call and have conversations with network partners. And it's a way for us to get more of that direct feedback from you about what you're struggling with on the day-to-day in your organization and your community, things like, what you're having a hard time finding on the website or how we could make that better. It's so that we can help continue to increase that feedback and constantly continue to tailor our resources. So please keep an eye out as we'll start sending out messaging once we're getting through the conference, and then we're launching that. So we'll be reaching out to schedule those, and we'll be kind of slowly working through all 4,300, hopefully.
Time's up.
But thank you all for being here, and hope you enjoy the conference. And then last chance to come by
thank
the booth
you.
tomorrow. So thank you.